What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Cfo, and welcome to 10 Count Media. On today's edition, I'm talking to an amazing person, a good friend of mine. It's Candice. Michelle, how are you doing today?
I'm so good. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great. As we talked off camera, my children are sucking the energy out of me every single day, but I'm here with plenty for you.
Yes, same. So we're on the same level. I agree. 3 kids. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler all this year with a new business and a new career. So life is awesome.
Wow, you have like a sitcom television show going on over there. New businesses, a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary school. Man, I see ABC, TGIF sitcom written all over that. But we'll have to pitch that to Netflix. They're desperate for shows, so they'll greenlight anything we do here probably. But man, recently though, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, I'm watching it as I always do, enjoying the product, and suddenly the camera pans over, and holy shit, you stand up, and then it says Candace Michelle, and I'm like, what is happening? So explain to me how this amazing moment happened.
Okay, so I live in Austin, Texas now, and Monday Night Raw was here. So I reached out to them to say, hey, can me and my family come? And I was so nervous to reach out because it's been 17 years since I've been there. And although I feel like they're my family, I had no idea if they would still get me tickets or let us backstage. Like, I just had really no expectations. And they like rolled out the red carpet, it felt like, for me. They gave us tickets for my whole family, ringside, the backstage passes, driving backstage, taking my family through gorilla and catering and out to the ring before the doors opened. I honestly said to my husband when we left, I said, this moment may have felt better than winning the championship. And he looked at me and he was like, really? And I said, for 17 years later, when you come back and that feels like home and family, and they put you over and they respect your kids and they take photos with you, I was like, yeah, that's a real championship for me. Like, it was amazing.
That is great because experiences in life, we all are chasing money or opportunities, but yet when we are in that moment, like you were, obviously that is something you're going to take with you forever. So now when you go backstage, like, who are you talking to? Who's running up to you and saying, holy crap, it's Candice Michelle?
Yeah, it was awesome. And I was nervous, who's going to be there? Am I going to be in the way? And so I really created an intent to go in there and just love on everybody. And if they needed me to be of service in any way, to be that. And that really created such a good atmosphere coming backstage, first running into the crew. John got me tickets, and he was a referee, and now he's head of talent relations. So just that in itself, to see his transformation and being able to do one thing and then transforming into this other role and being there for, over 20 years, I just felt so proud of so many people. And then seeing Kasama and the crew and the camera guys that have been there for over 2 decades, they look incredible. They look full of life. I don't know how they're doing it. And it just started to really feel comfortable. And I knew so many people, The Miz and Kofi and Michelle and Mark, and just hanging out with these people and taking photos. I just wanted to be a fan and just really just soak it all in. It was so much fun.
Oh man. And now, did you bump into like the new boss of the WWE, Triple H?
Yeah. And so we go out to the ring, and when they let us out the ring, they took us through Gorilla. And that was such a cool, I love Gorilla. That's that moment before you go on stage and where all the magic happens. And for my kids to kind of see that kind of behind the stage was super incredible. And I got to see Paul Heyman in there first. And for me, I didn't really work a lot with him. I knew who he was. I have met him before, but when I was there, he wasn't there full time. And I just watched him come back and his incredible journey of what I really feel like really a champion is, you know, like watching him fight through all this stuff and building up wrestlers and being behind the scenes and out at that ring and the emotions and the grit that he's like pulled in. I told him, I'm so proud of you. And that's weird when like a wrestler says that to a legend, you know? But it's true. It's like, it's really just how I felt. And he took a photo with our kids and we walk through Gorilla and then we get to do the entrance, you know, me and my family. I'm going to post this soon. But the full like experience of the entrance and the camera guys there. And then we get to go walk around the ring and say hi to everybody. And then obviously ending with Triple H. You know, I knew him as Triple H. Of course, it's Hunter. But like, I'll never forget his entrance. It was my favorite, and him spitting the water and looking like smoke. And he was just always so good to me. You know, we just had a good relationship. But seeing him, he said to me, oh gosh, you're making me emotional. He said, welcome home. And it really felt like home. You know, like it didn't feel like I was in somebody else's house. You know, it was filled with integrity and love and compassion and grace. And that company has kind of gone through this whirlwind, as we've all witnessed, you know, over time here. And to be there where Hunter is leading this group of superstars, and it just seems so professional and filled with love and integrity. And I was so blessed to be there, and for him to recognize me on national TV with my family was it felt like winning a championship.
It honestly, for me as a fan of yours as well, and a friend, I was jumping up and I was sitting there. You know, you're watching Raw, and sometimes it's background noise. Sometimes you're watching it intently. Out of nowhere, I look over and I'm, what? You stood up and there's your name. I was like, oh, I gotta text you immediately. Oh my gosh, should I text her immediately? No, because she's probably not going to answer her phone right now or look at her phone, because she is living in this awesome, superior moment. I'm so happy for you, because again, you brought up 17 years.
Yeah.
Not there in the pop. The people, it wasn't like when you see someone and it's like, oh, who's that? Or, oh, that guy, he's, you know, that person's, I don't know who's that. The crowd knew who you were, and the crowd definitely, and people at home and Twitter, you were trending. So like, it's pretty awesome to see that. With more conversations with Triple H, we have seen Lita, we have seen Trish, we've had these people come back for one match, little runs. Do you feel like that is a possibility, or do you feel like everything is great what you got going on?
You know, I do think it's a possibility. And it's funny is there was a time in my life where I was always questioned. I've done interviews too on how come I've never been brought back to a Royal Rumble. And the only thing I could say is it's just not my timing. You know, I haven't been asked. And so I just know the universe knew it wasn't right for me. And I just trusted at some point when it's right, they'll let me know. The universe will let me know. But one of the really cool things I want to share with you, and this blew my mind, is I believe so much in, you know, I do so much work behind the scenes. I'm in a new career of doing emotional alignments and in this new practice. And when I was there's this guy, Nick, and this guy, they work with like the props, right? Like making the props and stuff. Mm-hmm. So they came up to me backstage, and I've never shared this with anybody, but my title that I got, so, you know, I win the title and they pass that to the next person that wins it from me. Then they send me a replica in the mail. So this is my replica. Well, my name tag here, I never got it. They never sent it to me. And so I took this plate and I took it to Things Remembered, and you can see it doesn't look very great. You can hardly see it. And I just got my name engraved. And so that was just kind of, it is what it is. That's what I had to do. Well, after 17 years, they have traveled around the world. These two guys come up to me and they hand me my name tags, and I like just broke down. Like, 17 years. They haven't thrown them in the trash. They have carried that with them all around the world. So the amount of love that was poured into these two little tags, that now I can put this one on my championship belt, meant the absolute world to me. And for me, those are like signs from the universe. Like, you're just doing good. You're a good human. You're on the right path. And we're going to give you a little confirmation to say, here, you're doing good. Keep being a champ. You know, keep showing up the way you show up. And for them to show up with these was an incredible moment that night for me.
Wow. See, now you got me over here, because the fact that they kept that, because you're right. I'll go through boxes of things and I go, I used this so much 5 years ago. I don't need this anymore. Trash.
Yeah.
No second thought. Trash.
Totally.
You know, what's this kid's toy you found? They don't play with anymore. It's trash. And the fact that 17 years, they kept those pieces. They could have thrown that away easily. Like, what are we going to do with this? And they waited, and you brought, people ask you, and I've asked you before, like, why haven't been brought back? Royal Rumbles, it's so simple. And you brought it up, the timing, everything, where you live now, the nameplates, talking to Triple H, welcoming you back home.
Yeah.
Dipping your toes into this new world again, I think, is the beginning. For me personally, I think, hey, we saw the reaction. People were interested. They liked it. Maybe there's more down the line. We don't know. But that right there shows you something's happening in the universe, championing you. Because for 17 years, for 17 years, did you wonder why? Like, did I do something wrong? Did I say something? Was I involved with something that people are very upset with? Like, what did you think this whole time?
Yeah, you know, I definitely wondered why. You know, some people I would see come back and I'm like, oh, they were so much more over than me. And then some people I'm like, oh, wait, like, how come they didn't invite me? And then I just had to go really inward and say, this isn't my moment. It's not about me yet. And I always just said to myself, that means I got to keep going to work. I go to work until they notice that it's my time to come back. And I don't know when that is. I can't be attached to the outcome of what that looks like, how it looks like. Like, the outcome of getting these name tags was so much more important to me, that there was so much love in that than coming back for a Royal Rumble. So I can't make that up, you know? And so if the universe and God is going to say, this is your special moment, like, I'm so grateful, because nobody got a moment like that. You know, that was really special for me. And so I'm just so filled with gratitude that those things traveled with these superstars, and they worked so hard, and it just traveled and traveled and traveled. And there's so much love in those two little nameplates that was the win for me.
That's so awesome to hear. When you were in the audience and you did watch some of the show, who were you impressed with while watching? Because, again, are you constantly watching still, or not at all? And this was your first time seeing some of these wrestlers?
Yeah, I don't keep up with the product a lot because I'm just so busy with, like we said, my kids and family and stuff. I do try to watch the big shows so that I can, you know, get some of that love and see people. And obviously I'm on social media, so I can see a lot of what's going on. There was something super cool, though, that happened in the audience. So I was out there for the whole show. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous because I go to bed at like 9. And so I was like, 3 hours of wrestling, like, am I going to have the stamina to be able to be here and be a fan at this level for 3 hours? Well, behind me, I met this man who was Shawn Michaels' best friend way back in the day. And he said he was on the documentary with Shawn Michaels. And he even pulled me aside and showed me a photo of them wrestling together when they were 17 years old. Wow. And he had a choice at 17. And his father said to him, you can go out and be a wrestler and you're on your own. Or you can finish school and you can live in my house. And imagine having that kind of ultimatum at 17. You know, you don't have money to support yourself. You're not sure if you're going to make it in wrestling. We know how difficult it is. And he chose to stay home and finish school and not take that risk. and he's showing me this photo. We obviously know Shawn Michaels took that risk and how famous and what a phenomenon he became.
Oh,
And he said him and Shawn even talked about this, about how he would have been on that same level if he took that risk. And there was just this moment, he was putting Shawn over on how great he was and how wonderful he was. And I just looked at him and I said, but what did the universe give you that you needed? And he kind of looked at me like, isn't this about wrestling and Shawn? And I was like, what did the universe give you? And he said, I have that wife out there that you met. We've been together over 20 years. And I have the son. It was his birthday. So Shawn Michaels got them tickets for his son's birthday.
nice.
And he had another son. He said, I would never have had that had I gone. And I said, now focus on that. Because what a gift that is. Because I can imagine living for 20 years thinking, man, I should have gone out there with him, right? I should have left home. And that it's just not everybody's journey, right? I don't know that that journey would have fulfilled him the way his life's been fulfilled. So I had his son sitting behind me with like 5 of his guy friends. And these were your serious wrestling fans. The booing, the cheering, the taunting of the wrestlers. And they were hilarious. They were so much fun that it helped me step into being a fan and cheering. It's really weird to boo for your friends, you know? So I'm like,
They want you to.
oh, I love you. No, boo. But I was out there sweating and my kids were having the best time and they were taunting. And I was like, this is amazing. It's really the first time I remember really being a fan since I was a kid and about 7 years old, and went to a show with my stepdad. So like having that come full circle where you can just step outside and just love on these superstars was so much fun for us.
That's awesome to hear. Was someone your children really impressed with? Like, did someone go like, wow, look at that, Mom?
Well, I was really impressed with Otis.
Yeah.
I mean, like, fell in love with him slightly. I was like, this guy is so awesome. And I was impressed with also people that I knew then and seeing more of their transformation. Randy Orton coming out there. I knew him from when I was there, and he even talked about, like, it was like 20 years ago that he won a championship and how he's going to win it again. I was like, oh my God, that was when I was there, you know, like that. I saw that, and you're still here. And you could just see there's a shift in his professionalism, in his composure, in really the great athlete and person he's become. Like, you can just see that energy shift. And when I was watching him, it just made me so proud, like, to see that you could be there that long. Even CM Punk coming out, you know, and the reaction that he's getting. And I know his journey hasn't been a straight line either. And for me, no championship is ever a straight line, right? We struggle every day with things. And so when you see these guys pushing through those struggles and coming out, it was so incredible. And then there's the next generation, right? Like Dirty Dom. Like, you know, like Ray wasn't there. So, but, you know, I worked with like these kids' parents, you know, and I'm like, wow, this really is the next generation of superstars. Jacob Henry, who just signed on with WWE, like these kids coming on, and I worked with their dads, you know, I'm like, this is wild to witness, and it's so incredible.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, Dirty Dom is he looks exactly like the storyline. Obviously, was the custody of Dominic, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in 2005 SummerSlam, and it's so weird to see like a picture of little baby Dom, and then you see him now with the mustache and the mullet, and you're like, I don't. You look more like Eddie than you look like Ray. Maybe that storyline was right. You know, maybe Eddie was right the whole time.
Yeah,
I don't know, but that's so great to hear, because it's so weird, because in 2021 there was a Legends Night for Raw and you were advertised on it, but then you never were there. Did anyone ever tell you like, hey, we're advertising for you, we're gonna call you?
No, no. So I always get these messages like, oh, she doesn't want to go back, or maybe she's busy, or no, I just never actually got the call. So it's fun to be advertised for. And so, like we said, the timing just isn't right. You know, there's a storylines happening, there's a time and a place. And when that falls in alignment, then like it did at Monday Night Raw, like it was just awesome. And so I just trust that when it falls into alignment, it's meant to be.
All right, yeah, because I remember seeing that. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then wait, where is she? You said she was gonna be here, and she wasn't. What's up with that?
Yeah.
That was strange. Did you ever get that? Did any of your friends send you that photo and be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see you"? And then you're like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about."
Well, they'll message me. They'll be like, "Oh, you're going to be there too," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, I just wasn't called." And they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "But have so much fun."
Yeah, it was really bizarre to see that. Yeah, I was like, what the hell's happening here? But with so many women wrestlers and people you've been involved with, do you have? I know this question gets asked to a lot of people. Like, do you a Mount Rushmore of women's wrestlers? Like, is there someone in your book, like current, past, present, in your top 4?
Yeah, you know, because I've been asked this so long, I've actually kind of shifted in my answer. I used to say Charlotte Flair. I love her. You know, I've loved her dad, and just what she's done on her own. You can see she works to be the best, and she's really incredible. Also, Bianca Belair. You know, with her that EST, I think it's incredible. Like, you know, be the greatest, the best, you know, all the like people like that. Like, I want to go up against the best. Like, I try to be the best in my life. And now what I do in my life is try to help other people be the best. Like, that's what makes my dreams come true now. Like, if I can help you reach your dream, that lasts a lifetime, right? But now it's kind of shifted. And I think my Mount Rushmore match would be against Beth Phoenix.
Wow. Yeah. It's funny you say, because she did an interview this morning saying she's no longer in the WWE though.
Oh.
So you'll have to finagle something there. But yeah, she recently left. Her husband is in AEW as we currently record this. So we'll see if she ends up there as well. But I think that'd be great, because Beth Phoenix is someone that was such a dominant force.
Yeah.
With you and with everyone from now until then. So it's like Beth Phoenix is outstanding. But so Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Beth Phoenix are on your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, well, because, you know, in that 2 out of 3 falls count match when I was knocked out, that was really the end of my career. I mean, I came back, I broke my collarbone, I was severely concussed. But when I came back, I had a match, my collarbone was still broken. I shattered it on the first drop kick. And that 2 out of 3 falls count, which was so crazy when there was a 2 out of 3 falls count at Raw this last Monday. I was like, whoa, did memories kind of come back? Because I didn't know it was we don't hear the commentators, right? So I'm like,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, he wins. And I'm like, what's happening? And then you see up on the thing, oh, it's a 2 out of 3 falls. And I was like, oh, that's what like ended my career, you know? And
what?
You have this moment of like, taking a breath, even for these wrestlers that are doing their match, of like how impactful these matches really are. So that's why I picked Beth Phoenix. Like, I feel like we never got to finish that 2 out of 3 falls count match, and I would want to go back and finish that. And then my last pick, and it's not the last of the list, but you know, she's arguably the greatest female wrestler of all time, and that's Trish Stratus.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the best, in my opinion, you got to go up against the best. So
she had a pretty good run recently too. So I would again, that's why I was like, can we get Candice back too for one last run?
I mean, she's incredible. Like, she came back better than I think she's ever been. And when you watch somebody come back after years and have an incredible run like that, you're like, that's a superstar, you know? So that's somebody who continues to live this day in and day out, because to go back to wrestling is no easy feat after all those years, you know, and to come back and look the way she does and perform the way she does, get the reactions the way she does, like, that's really like, she's at the top of her game. And so it's very impressive to watch.
Yeah, yeah, and she went through the transitions as you did too, from like pillow fights to like I guess you call them like 2 out of 3 fall matches, and
Yeah.
then like you were involved with what I've read is the worst match you've ever been involved with. Maybe you'll say yes or no to this. A
Yes.
pudding match. A
Yes.
pudding match. What did you think about that? A pudding match.
Oh my
Thoughts?
gosh. What I think about that is if anybody thinks I didn't pave the way for you, I did, because you don't have to do a pudding match. The things that we did back then, and we were trying, I remember Melina in there, and I was trying so hard to suplex her, but she's stuck in like 4 feet of pudding. I can't even get her out of the pudding, and we are trying so hard to be wrestlers, and I remember it in my ears, like it was just everywhere. And that was, yes, it's the worst match I've ever done.
Good to hear that no longer will you ever have to see a pudding match ever again in professional wrestling. And I get like, all right, if you're going for like sex appeal, like wrestling like baby oil, sure,
Totally.
that makes sense to me.
Totally.
But when I think of, man, I can't wait to see my wife covered in pudding, like
Yeah,
that's
brown
not
pudding.
something that comes to my mind.
No, yeah, brown pudding. It just felt like a tub of diarrhea. Like it was so terrible. But I do remember it was funny because I feel like the guys secretly were laughing backstage, which, they ribbed us, so we all ribbed each other, right? So coming backstage and they're like, yeah, look at what you had to do. And I was like, yeah, and I just give them all big hugs. I was like, yeah, you're getting some of this too. This is a team.
Yeah, because you didn't see like, Randy Orton versus someone in a pudding match.
Yeah.
You didn't see that. I don't know. People go to strip clubs for many different reasons, and men and women are in there. Like, why can't the men wrestle in pudding matches?
Totally.
Just saying. Though I would like to clarify some things though, because when you go online and you look your name up and you look up like stories, there's some random things pop up, and I'm like, is this real or not real? So
Yeah.
I kind of want you to finally say, is this real or not real?
Okay.
Is it true that your WrestleMania 22 Playboy cover match with Tori Wilson got cut short because Shawn Michaels' events went too long?
The truth is, I don't remember that, but I wouldn't be shocked. Every single one of my matches always got cut short. All the women's matches always got cut short. Until the very end when I was wrestling Beth Phoenix. I think that 2 out of 3 falls was a semi-main event, and that did not, it got cut short, but because of my injury. So that would not be anything surprising, but I just don't remember truthfully to that specific time.
Okay. Yeah.
It was more difficult to figure out in this short amount of time that we were already given, say 5 minutes, that we're going to have 2 entrances. There's going to be a bed in the ring. We have to have a pillow fight. We had a gown on and lingerie, and you have to get the gown off to the lingerie. And in our minds, we're like, how do we wrestle? And so we're trying to think of different wrestling moves around it was like a queen size bed in the middle of the ring. And so much that we were concerned about that, if it got cut short, that was kind of normal back then for us. So we just had to do what we had to do.
Man, nothing like talking about women's wrestling and you think of like kids in today's world, the idea of that even occurring would be crazy. And if it did, and if the women actually wanted it to be a Playboy pillow fight match with a bed, still people would lose their minds over this because of how hard, obviously, you and so many people have worked to get to the point where suddenly women are main eventing WrestleManias.
Yeah.
And having multiple championships and multiple storylines, not just involving a championship, not having your match cut, actually your match being longer than the men's matches. Yeah. So it's weird. Do you think that if they did have like one of these types of matches in today's world, people would like lose their minds on Twitter?
Oh, totally. Not only would they lose their minds, but the female superstars would lose their minds, I mean, they've lost their minds and quit for things far less than that, So, and I'm proud of them, when you can stand up for what you believe in, and to a point for me, like there's this whole, I don't want to look like a male wrestler. You know, I am not a male, and I think as a female I can do great things, and I still want to be a female. And for me, there is some sex appeal in that. You know, for some of the wrestlers you see nowadays, they still have that. Some, that's not their jam. You know, like Beth Phoenix wasn't about sex appeal. She was about being a glamazon and domination, and you know, and so I think when people just stand for who they are and what they believe in and what they are, and stop worrying about what everybody else is, then we're good. But when you start worrying about everybody else, like, we get in this messy pile of dog shit that just creates chaos, and it's like, for what? I don't understand it, to be honest. And I think it's just been taken to an extreme level, and it's taken away from all categories. I think it's taken away from categories of whether you're male or female or trans, whatever you are. Like, this push on you have to identify and respect people. And like, for me, respect is earned. I don't care if you're XXXOXY. For me, it's XOXO. Some hugs and kisses, baby. Like, whatever you identify as, if you don't respect me, I don't respect you.
I agree. And I'm so happy you brought up the sexualized, not sexualized, but you said, hey, you know, I want some sex appeal. There's some sex appeal to your character and to who you are. And I feel like some women in today's world in wrestling, they want that still to be part of their character. But then people, again, it's online, so it's like,
yeah,
you don't pay my bills, so maybe you shut up. But they're also saying, like, well, you can't wear booty shorts with your ass showing and still be considered a good wrestler. Like, you can only be one or the other. Like, yeah. Rhea Ripley is very sexual in her demeanor, but she's also a badass.
Yeah, totally.
And some people, I don't think, disagree with what she's doing. But if you see someone else walk out there just having the sex appeal, but not the badass part of it, yeah, they're eventually like, wait a minute, she's probably being told to wear this low cut shirt and do these things. I was like, well, maybe, just maybe,
yeah,
she wants to do that because she believes that's what her character is supposed to be. It's okay to be the eye candy in a storyline. Yeah. It's a storyline. It's not real. You know, it's a TV show. So I'm so happy you said that, because I wanted to bring it up, but I was like, well, if I bring it up, am I promoting this? You said it first.
I think people just get too caught up in it. And usually the people who are saying, oh, she's just eye candy and not a good wrestler, is the guy sitting on the couch that weighs 300 pounds eating potato chips. So anytime people start talking trash, I bring that analogy up because this literally happened to me. One day, this is like a decade ago, I was just having a low day, and I read some comments, and it was like, oh my gosh, she's gained so much weight. And I think I probably put on 5 or 10 pounds, you know? Oh. And I looked at this guy's profile, and his profile photo was literally, by the way, probably weighed like 130 pounds. So it's not, I mean, I was still little. He's sitting on the couch in the corner, weighs like 300 pounds, and has like a Pringles potato chip thing. And I was thinking, and you're telling me that 130 pounds, like, I'm fat? And I was like, it was this big eye opener of like, you need to handle you, brother. You know, like, I'm doing just fine over here because I'm not 128 and I'm 130. I was like, you know, and so just really kind of stepping into your own power and who you are and what makes you feel great, and stop caring what everybody else thinks about you, because it's none of your business. I don't care. Like, people, you know, nowadays they want to trash anybody. I'm like, you would never say that to my face. Because I'd literally punch you in the face. Like,
and I'd like to see that. You know?
I tell my kids that. I'm like, you know what? Somebody says something stupid to you, punch them in the face.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do. You know how you get pushed over the whole time? Never.
They won't say that to you again. They won't bully you again. You know, I said, if you're in the principal's office and you punch somebody in the face, I'll come get you and I'll take you out for my ice cream. They said, okay, Mom. They'll probably never do that, right? Like, this is kind of this extreme thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
But them just knowing that they have the freedom to not let somebody, you know, treat them improperly, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I have definitely read some comments about myself on Twitter about, you know, interviews I've done or questions I've asked, and then I've seen these people face to face somewhere, and I would be like, oh, so what's up?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I watched your 20-minute video, how you made fun of me for 20 minutes, so I'm right here.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that. Should I bookmarked it. Should I pull up the video, or are you just gonna apologize? Like, are we, because I have the video right here. It's like, dude, calm down. Yeah, no, I 100% agree on all that. Continue on, though, a little more truth here. Let's find out. Is it true? Now, this one is interesting because it might be or not. Is it true that you accidentally sat in the wrong spot in a locker room and Lita yelled at you?
Yes, that's true.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think it was the wrong spot. For her, it was a premiere spot.
Oh, you know, what's the premiere spot in a locker room then?
Well, I thought I was not in the premiere spot. When you go in the locker room, this one in particular, it had a long like shelf with a big mirror with like makeup lights. And about 4 people could probably fit up there to do their hair and makeup. And then there was a mirror on the back of a door where I sat on the floor to do my makeup because I thought that was the premiere spot. So I'm sitting on the floor. And clearly for her at that time, that was a premiere spot. And I was new. And she let me know that you can't just walk in here and take the best spot in the locker room to do your makeup. And I was just confused for a second because I was like, do you want to sit on the floor and I go sit up there by the makeup lights? Like, okay, cool. Like, no problem. So that was kind of my little initiation with Lita. And since then, she's just been awesome. And just so, you know, we became friends through all of that. I actually have a great story about Lita. I was thinking about this recently is because I had a match against her. I just saw her at WrestleCon. And so we gave each other big hugs. And then it just reminded me of this match that we had. And her demeanor and character back then was very like rock and roll, very hardcore. You know, she was kind of with the Hardy Boys. Then she was with Edge, you know, so like very edgy, you know, and I was like this eye candy kind of Playboy model, right? So having a match with her, I remember being nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to take like a punch from her or a hit from her. Like this is not going to feel good. No. And I just remember getting in the ring, and now looking back, I can see how professional she really was, because when she would lay in that arm on my back, it was almost hard to sell it because she was so gentle.
Wow.
Yeah, but you would never know that because she was so good at what she did. And I was like, I remember the first one coming on my back, and I was like, oh, I mean, that really hurts, you know? Like, and then I was like, wow. And you don't process this when you're in front of 20,000 people and you're in a match and you're just trying to fight to learn how to be a wrestler. Right. But 17 years later, when you see somebody like that and you think of that match, you're like, wow, she was a professional. Like, she was amazing at what she did, and she was a badass. And so it's really cool to look back on those things and the lessons that I've learned that I take with me in life today, is when you make it look so good out there, it's because you've done so much work behind the scenes.
I know Lita is someone who, again, she definitely gets the credit she deserves, because even when she came back a few years ago, fighting Becky Lynch in Saudi Arabia, in the way women in cultures there is completely different from anywhere else. And yet they were on posters across everywhere. Lita versus Becky Lynch on the posters in Saudi Arabia. It was mind blowing to see, because before, they still have to do it, where they wrestle, they have to wear like bodysuits pretty much covering every inch of their skin except their face and their hands. Yeah. But it was just so cool to see them on the poster. I was like, wow, like we have come from putting matches to posters in Saudi Arabia. That is, thank you for sharing that Lita story as well, because, you know, and I'm so happy we clarified some of these weird rumors you see, because you're like, I'm not sure if this is true or not. Because why would someone want to sit on the floor? You know, why would someone choose to sit on the floor? And like, for instance, how do you know, for example, when you did earn or you get to sit in the premier spot? Like, when eventually do you become that person who gets that spot? Is it a championship? Is it money? Like, what is it?
You know, for me, I think it just falls down to character. You know, for me, when new kids came in, I remember when I was the new kid coming in, and people like Tori and Lisa being so kind and welcoming, and not where my past was or what wrestling knowledge I had, and just getting to know me, you know. And so for me, I could do my makeup anywhere. You learn to bring your own mirror, right? You bring your own mirror and you find a corner and you get your stuff done. But that kind of character on those that welcome me authentically, that was the character I wanted to adapt. You know, so when somebody new came in, if I could help them, what I learned about my career, and once again, I didn't know this when I was in my career, because I had the goal to be the women's champion from the day I signed the dotted line of my contract. And working for that, you don't realize all of the things that really go along with that. And now I forgot what the point of that story was.
Children sucking the energy out of you.
Life out of me.
That's what it is.
It was a really good story. So if I remember, I'll let you know.
If you remember. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I was at the Royal Rumble press conference. Someone asked this question. I'm curious about for you as well. Was there ever a moment while you were in the WWE that you didn't feel safe? Because obviously with allegations coming out, all this craziness going on, I'm not getting the details of all of it because I'm not a lawyer. But for you, did you ever feel not safe? I
never felt not safe. For me, actually, with a lot of the crew superstars I hung out with, it was really great. You know, we would travel with Carlito and Chavo, Umaga sometimes, Lance Cade sometimes, rest their souls. But when you're traveling with people like this, I just felt really safe. For me, with the work I do now and working with people's traumas and emotions, what I've really learned is I didn't have these childhood traumas that put me into situations that I couldn't control. Where I know other people who had other traumas in their childhood, who had other paradigms and stories, and they found themselves in these unpredictable situations, you know. And I think both sides of this coin really have a lot of emotional healing to do and a lot of trauma to do on both sides. So when people ask me about my opinion on this, is I just hope both sides get the healing that they need, because that's where the resolution comes, right? It's if we're just fighting for X, Y, and Z, you're not going to really heal. You're going to carry that trauma with you for the rest of your life, and it's going to continue to trigger you through the rest of your life. It's not until you actually really go inward on both sides and say, why did I show up this way? You know, why did this happen? And both parties taking some responsibility for this and healing that trauma until it really gets healed. It's a really different perspective that the media will probably never talk about, because they just don't have the knowledge of it, you know? And so once you hear this, I hope people hear that there is a way to fully heal from things like this, you know, and traumas and PTSD and sexual abuse. And so I hope they find support in that to heal.
Yeah, it was it's been a crazy whirlwind, but obviously with the Vince McMahon leaving the company, suddenly it was sold, and now Triple H is involved, TKO, The Rock came back as well. Like, did you ever think that too? Like, I'm thinking this man showing up and he's dropping F-bombs on Monday Night Raw. F-bombs. And on Smackdown, the same thing. So they're bleeping out everything he's saying. There's blood. He's whipping Cody, yelling out about Mama Rhodes. Like, this is a whole different level of The Rock. Like, what was your experience with like The Rock working with him? And then of course seeing him in today's world, where he is in today's world. It's incredible.
Yeah, he has always been super professional, super kind. I mean, exactly kind of what I have seen on TV or interviews on what you would hope for him to be like. that is exactly how I have known him. I haven't had a lot of interaction with him, but it's been awesome when you see somebody of that kind of stardom who's gone out to be an A-list actor, really just show up with integrity and respect for even somebody on my level. You know, when I'd be backstage, you know, I'd go up to him, shake his hand, and really just engaging and shaking my hand, not like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do, you know? So that was really cool. And then seeing him come back, it's one of those things, and the level that he came back that you just shared with us is, once you're a wrestler, it's like you're always a wrestler. So I'm sure for him to like come back to that moment, and the crowd who just loves him, like, and then to come back and be in this new role, and something with the Samoans. I don't know. I've secretly adopted myself into the Samoan culture.
I think everyone wants to.
I look Samoan, but I just love them. You know, I've been really good friends with everybody from Umaga to Rikishi, and watching his 800 sons be great superstars. Like, I don't know how he keeps having new sons, but they're all superstars. And it all stems, you know, from him and this legacy of being Samoan and stemming from The Rock, you know, who and people before The Rock that I'm not even that familiar with. And so just this generational thing happening, and where WWE is now. Like I said, when I went there, you hear all this stuff that you've explained, and it just felt clean. It felt an integrity. It felt safe. It felt welcoming. I felt love. I felt compassion and joy. And so I didn't know what to expect. And when you come back and it feels like that, it does feel like coming back home. So I'm sure The Rock coming back, it was like, this is his old stomping ground. You know, we do what we do here. We put on one hell of a show, and that's what he always does.
Yes, cousin Roman Reigns and the bloodline storyline. Personally, for me, I believe that's the reason why the WWE ended up in the skyrocket situation they're in right now, making crazy deals with Netflix and USA and CW and Prime and just everything in general. Like, there's more money being made for as long as I can remember. People kept saying the Attitude Era was the greatest time because it was pulp culture references. It was everywhere. Yeah. And then in today's world, it's a hard argument when what's your level, popularity or money? You know, what's, I think it's the money. I think it's, we're making more money than ever. And you coming back, and again, you're bringing it up. It's completely different now with backstage atmosphere. Wrestlers I've interviewed, for instance, Jade Cargill would say Triple H and the new group understand, hey, I need this day off because it's my children's birthday.
Yeah.
Or hey, it's very important for me to be off of this day for the first day of school, you know, if you have kids.
Yeah.
And I would hear, and Randy Orton did a story recently, an interview where someone asked him about that, and he pretty much said, like, Vince was like, no, sorry, I need you. Like, nope, you can't have this birthday off. Nope, sorry. Like, that to me is not work. A work life is being able to tell your boss, hey, I'm taking off this day in 3 weeks. I'm giving you a big ol' ass notice that, like, I need this in 3 weeks. I need this day off. And they're like, nope. Like, that real work's supposed to be, let me see what I can do, or let me see what I can accommodate, or yes, of course, because you have, you know, built up vacation time or personal time. Yeah. So it is completely different. And I'm just so happy when you came back to the idea, you use the word clean. And I feel like that is the case. And, you know, before I move on though, like, who made your gear when you were a professional wrestler all the time? Because that stuff, obviously you can't put in the washer instantly. You can't put in the dryer. Like, how is that process of who's making it? How are you able to clean it?
You know, I would like to say I had one person in particular, but most of my gear back then, we didn't have the luxury. There was the seamstresses backstage who were amazing, super, super talented, but they were predominantly there for, you know, the top superstars. You know, they were making Ric Flair's robes and Edge's capes, and, you know, they didn't have any more time for people that were at my level. And so stripper stores made my gear. So we would find these stores and just sexy outfits. And even back then, being online wasn't a thing. You didn't go on Amazon and search sexy outfit, you know? It's like we had to find these stores all around. And that's actually where the Wand was born, is we were in a store of bikinis and I call it stripper gear. You know, when they have the high heels that are like this high, clear, and see-through. And it was Halloween, and there was this outfit that had this star wand, and I was just like, that's totally going to be my thing. And things just like went off like light bulbs for me, which is wild. And I think I shared this story with you already, and most people have heard this story of me coming down to the ring with a stripper wand and saying I wanted to use this the way Triple H used his sledgehammer. And they were looking at me like, girl, you are out of your mind. And what a great thing to be out of your mind, that I didn't care what anybody thought. I knew that I was going to get that wand over, you know, and I did. And that's where I think just so much brilliance comes today, and where I hope it stays, is just people believing in themselves, and not that you need somebody to push you, that you need somebody to give you this platform, that you need somebody to give you this cool outfit, that you need, you know, just go out there and do it. Like, just do it, you know, and not care if you mess up or fail or botch a move, which I've done all of that on national TV, and everybody reminds me and lets me know. And I'm like, yeah, and that's how I learned. And that's how I grew. And that's how I became the women's champion, because I didn't care what you thought. I just cared if I got to the next stage and the next level and I got better. And when we start caring about what everybody thinks, you know, in this world as a whole, it's like, what does everybody think? You can't say this anymore, and you can't say that anymore. And I went through so many traumas 4 years ago myself, you know, with the last election and the pandemic, like, oh, don't say those things, you know? I'm like, I went through so many traumas that I've had to heal from myself to get to where I am today and regain my voice and say, you know what, I can say whatever I want on my social media, but the censorship, and that's not allowed, and that's not proper, and comedians, you can't say this or that. And so I randomly have been invited to do a stand-up comedy show in a couple weeks, and I was like, wow.
You're doing stand-up?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm like, how strong will my voice be after all these traumas? How strong will my voice be in a world that wants to shut you up on everything? And so what a great opportunity coming my way. And so we'll see what happens with that.
Oh, man. Let me know. I need to see this or watch it somewhere or go to it, because that sounds amazing that you're going to be doing some stand-up. But like I said off the top of the show, it was so great to see your name pop up and see your face pop up on Monday Night Raw. And if no one knows, you know, go back and check out all these amazing matches that you've been involved with. Not the pudding match, though, people. We've discussed this. Heavy detail. Avoid it. I believe it's One Night Stand, 2007. Don't watch it. Just or watch it and realize what you did for the rest of us.
yeah, totally. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve. It's always so wonderful being on here with you, and I appreciate you and your time.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Steve. She's Candice. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.